After hearing your tremendous story, do you feel enough is being done to preserve the memory and awareness of those who were caught up in the Holocaust today with the current generation?
I don't feel that enough has been done because the size of the Holocaust was so tremendous. Just to explain, the largest massacre of peoples that ever happened to civilians in the United States was on the 9th of the 11th, when 2,997 people were killed. Now in the Holocaust, 2,997 people were killed every day, murdered, for 5 years, 6 months, and 10 days. That means 2,028 days. There were 5 annihilation camps alone in Poland. So can you imagine? It is, I'll put it in another way. There is 100,000 people in the Melbourne cricket ground on grand final day. 60 Melbourne cricket grounds full of people were murdered in the Holocaust. There never was anything approaching a massacre of this type. So no, not enough has been done, no.
How important is it for you and other survivors to tell your story?
Well, I know it is very important, because why should the sands of time cover a criminal act of that volume, of that size? Yeah, it's very important. We know about the Crusades, we learn about the 30-Year War, we learn about World War I. I mean, why not? Why shouldn't it be? Because on top of it is where, I'm so sorry to interrupt, on top of it is where innocent people, you're not talking about soldiers, you're talking about babies, old people, sick people, invalids, crazy people, people in the prime of their life. It should not be forgotten.
Out of all countries during the post-war period accepting European immigrants, what made you pick Australia to migrate to, and what made you pick Melbourne out of all cities in Australia to reside in?
Australia was known after the war as a country that accepted migrants, needed people with skills, was a very democratic country, had a very good climate, was very well provided for with everything that human beings need to have a good life. That means food, water, everything was available. It was clean, it was hygienic, and the people were very friendly and very honest, and it was the ideal country to go to. That's why we came here.
And what made you pick Melbourne out of all cities?
My sister came on a boat here 3 months earlier than we came, my wife and myself, and my sister knew that I wanted to go to Sydney because Sydney was the capital of Australia, more or less. But she took me to Myers from the boat, and I liked Myers so much I said, I'm staying here.
Why is it important for our country to maintain a strong immigration intake despite an age of uncertainty and a rise of political figures like Pauline Hanson, for example, promoting perhaps a linear approach to Australian culture and population?
The whole history of Australia is built on immigration. When Australia was discovered, the first fleet, more people came, more people came, more people came. I do not like people like Pauline Hanson on the right, nor do I like them on the left, radical on the left, because they are bad for a country. Everybody should be able to work and get along with everybody else. But I do think that a country has got the right to import people that contribute to the well-being of the country. I do not think that the apex gang, which we are now having in Dandenong here is contributing to the well-being of Australia. So I think we should be more critical into whom we bring in. Yes, I'm not a racist. If I appreciate everybody who is good and who lets me live, who doesn't attack me, he's got the same rights as I have. He should have the same rights. Australia has been very good in this regard. I hope it will stay that way.
Do you think that the current generation and population actually realizes how serious and how much of an impact the Holocaust actually was? Or
no, it is not. The present generation shows very little interest in things that happened. There's so many things happening now, they're fully occupied with what's happening in their lives now, and for that reason I am doing the talking to the students, and I hope that some of my grandchildren will follow and still keep the memory alive.
And for that, yeah, do you think they realise how much of an impact or how serious the Second World War itself actually was?
Somehow or other, I notice they don't even talk about the Second World War. It's not a theme anymore. It was and it's gone. It's a different life now. The young people are interested in other things than what we were. We went through this terrible war, and the young people of today, I think, they've got a much better life. They've got their music, they've got their sports, they've got their holidays, and they're very smart and very good, a lot of them, because I notice it. I interview a lot of them when I do my talking to the students. I have respect from them. Most of them are really well behaved and quite well educated.
So you mentioned as well that you've travelled back to Europe since the Second World War. How does it feel returning to a place that was both a happy childhood memory but also a vicious nightmare?
It's a dual feeling. If I see people from my generation, I cringe. It's always in my back. I always ask to myself, what were you doing during the war? Where were you? What were you doing? What bad things could you have done? But I do not blame anybody. I don't believe in collective guilt. Germany is not responsible, the whole of Germany, for whatever happened. Because if there is one good German, he's already a guy who I love and I admire. I think everybody is only responsible for what he does himself. So if maybe Hitler had a boy who would be a Democrat and a nice guy, I couldn't hold it against him either. I do not believe that people are collectively responsible. Germany as a nation is not responsible. But what happened was that an incredible amount of that generation, of the Hitler generation of Germany, were for him because he was so successful. And he helped them out of the crisis. He created full employment. He created a standard of living. He made Germany again, it had become a pariah amongst the nations after World War I. So he made Germany respected. He made beautiful Olympic Games in Germany. Everybody admired Germany. And of course, far too many Germans Heil Hitlered him when he went into Russia, and they thought he will walk into Russia the same way and win as he went into France or Denmark or Czechoslovakia, which didn't happen. He got his comeuppance there.
In your opinion, how do you think at the time what do you think was some of the reasons why the Second World War actually started, and also another thing, how do you feel, what steps could have been taken to avoid it, for it to have been avoided leading up to the war?
Well, first of all, I think that the reasons why Hitler said, I need this war, can be totally debunked. He said that I need territories in the east, Lebensraum, he called it, space to live, because there are 60 million Germans, and I need extra territories. Then he said, I need slaves who will work for us, because we are the super race, and they will be tilling the soil, the Russians, they will be our slaves, and they will work for us. Then he said, I need petrol, because I don't have petrol. So that's what was his reason why he went into Russia, because Ukraine has a lot of Odessa is an oil town. Then he said, I need a clean race, a white race, blonde-eyed, blue-eyed, blonde people. I mean, it didn't happen, because what happened was after the war they were occupied by Russians. You cannot imagine what Asiatic people from Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Balochistan came with the Zhukov army and raped German women and left the children there. On the west it was African Americans who left mixed children who were not blonde-eyed and blue, but they were probably dark-skinned. Then he said, I must unify Germany. Germany was put into two parts, Eastern and Western Germany, and they lived apart for 40 years. And Germany cannot live unless I unify not only Germany, but the Sudeten, the Germans that lived in Czechoslovakia. I need all of Austria. Germany has never been smaller and lives now better than it's ever lived. It's still the leading nation in Europe. All these sort of things which his theories that he needs a war can be easily debunked. He didn't need a war.
Do you think, after everything sadistic that happened in the Second World War, after everything malicious, as a race, or as a society, has the world learnt anything from it?
I don't think so. It can happen again. All that thing can happen again. All it needs is, for instance, the Germans are a nation who cannot live, they don't know how to handle critical situations. After World War II, they got beaten. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers came back without a job. 6 million were in the end, in 1929, when the world financial system collapsed. 6 million were unemployed. Then came the inflation. Germany had an inflation where a loaf of bread cost $1 million or $1 million Reichsmark. They couldn't handle it. And there comes this man who says, I'll restore Germany, I will restore your pride, I will restore your hair. And they believed him. And they did it. It can happen again, because God forbid that Germany again would go through such a crisis. And what they are doing now, they are preparing for one of those crises, because they have brought in 1.5 million refugees from Syria who are not behaving how refugees should. Because we were refugees, but we behaved. We swore allegiance to the Queen when we came here. 5 years later, we became our Australian citizens, and we lived within the law. It never entered to us to do something against Australians.
When did you come to Australia, and also what made you want to leave Europe after the war?
What made me want Europe is I saw it was a cursed continent, and I wanted to get away as far as possible from Europe. That's what made me come here.
So how long have you been in Australia now?
67 years.
Wow. So that would have been...
1950, in October, we came on a little ship called Suriento, and we were 30 days on the sea, on a very small ship, which was being tossed around like you cannot imagine.
Now that you're retired and a senior citizen, What do you do with yourself currently, or what have you done?
I have first of all, I have written my life story for my children, my grandchildren. Then I go to the libraries, to the various libraries, and wrote various essays. One of the essays is, for instance, why are Jews hated so much? Were Jews hated so much in the Europe and not hated in America and in Australia? That was one thing. The other thing was, can it happen again? The third thing I made is, who prepared the Jews for the Holocaust? It is one of the things which I worked out for myself, that people don't need only food. You need food, you need shelter, you need parents, you need love, you need sex. You may need to belong to a club, you want to belong somewhere, but you also need an enemy. And very few people realize that. When we played soccer, if I played badly, I used to blame not myself that I'm a bad soccer player. I blamed the umpire, or I blamed the guy that I didn't pass the ball to properly. Yeah? When I didn't learn well in school and I was bad in mathematics, I blamed the teacher, I blamed this. This is how we are. We don't criticize ourselves. We always look, a business goes broke, oh, it's Myers that killed me, or you don't get a job, you get thrown out. I haven't done anything wrong, but look at that foreman. We are like that. And the Jews were the bad boys. And who prepared them? So I wrote another essay. I went through 262 popes, and I worked out how the popes behaved to the Jews. So I wrote an essay. And it really is the Catholic Church who prepared us, who prepared the Jews for the Holocaust. Because once you went to the church and you listened every week that we were the children of Satan, we were the people that prepared all the wars, we were the poisoners of wells, we were killing Christian children for their blood. This is what was being told. We are the cause of everything. We brought the plague into the land, we poisoned wells. We became the symbol, the children of Satan. And so I went through those popes and I wrote what every pope did to us, how they maligned us. So we were well prepared for the Holocaust.
So I guess now my final question, and this is a question, I guess, that applies to every sort of person from our generation. What can we do as a young generation to make our society a better place?
Think that you are Australians. Don't think that you are Greek Australians or Syrian Australians or Czech Australians. We never thought we were Czech Australians. From the moment I became an Australian citizen, I was no longer Czech. It means nothing to me. So be good Australians. Keep the democracy. Become educated. Do not listen to political people from the left or from the right. Check your facts, basic facts, before you form an opinion. Don't believe into groupthink. Don't become politically correct. Don't say people that, because some people tell you you can't offend them. Say what you think if you really know that it's right. So check your facts. Keep Australia a democratic, good country. That's all I can say.